All right, get ready, because today we're diving deep into some seriously fascinating stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about the nature of reality, unseen forces, and a mysterious thing called the Black Cube.
And what makes this deep dive so interesting is the source material.
Okay.
We've got a YouTube video featuring a guided telepathic journey.
Oh, wow.
Basically, someone acting as like a conduit to get information from a, well, let's just say a non-traditional source.
Right, exactly. And as always, we're going into this with totally open minds.
Absolutely.
Just presenting the information as it was shared without, adding our own beliefs or anything.
Yeah, just laying it all out there.
We're like your guides through this super dense, maybe even a little perplexing memorial.
Definitely perplexing. So this video centers on an entity named Metatron.
Metatron, okay?
You might have heard of him.
Yeah.
In some traditions, he's considered an angel.
Right.
Or even an archangel.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But this video paints a very different picture of Metatron.
Really?
One that might challenge your ideas of what an angelic being is.
Interesting.
So Claudia, the conduit, describes her first perception of Metatron not with the typical angel imagery, but with these deep metallic sounds coming from inside the earth.
Okay, so not exactly harps and halos then.
Not quite. It's more like some powerful force operating beneath the surface, hidden from our everyday view.
Which makes you wonder,
Exactly.
what is that about? If he's angelic, why these earthly sounds?
Right, right. Could be a metaphor for how he interacts with our world.
Yeah,
Like a force shaping our reality in ways we don't really grasp.
And then she visualizes him as this complex engine with turbines mixing and molding energies.
Yeah, she uses the words coldness and complexity. Not exactly the warm, fuzzy angel vibes.
Not at all.
So it definitely gives a different perspective. Instead of that classic, benevolent, ethereal being, we get something much more mechanical. Maybe even a bit unsettling.
A little bit, yeah.
And this is where the Matrix comes into play.
Okay, so
That term you've probably heard.
Sure, yeah.
In this context, it's referring to a system of control that limits our true potential.
Right, right.
Claudia believes Metatron is influencing, like, spiritual leaders and even people in high positions to keep us all rooted in this matrix.
That's a pretty intense idea.
It is, isn't it? That there are unseen forces shaping our society and manipulating us in these subtle ways.
To hold us back.
Yeah, to keep us from reaching our full potential.
And it gets even more wild, right?
It does. So Claudia suggests Metatron might be a lesser Yahweh.
Hold on, lesser Yahweh, what's that mean?
Yahweh being another name for God in some traditions.
Right.
So it's almost like she's suggesting this hierarchy of powerful beings.
Oh, wow.
With different levels of influence and maybe even different agendas.
Yeah.
Challenging that whole idea of a singular, all-powerful God.
Yeah, it's almost like there are multiple beings competing.
Exactly.
Each with their own ideas about how our world should work.
It throws a wrench in the traditional view.
Big time.
She even describes a difference in their DNA.
Oh, wow, their DNA.
She senses Metatron as more technologically advanced.
Interesting.
While Yahweh has more reptilian characteristics.
That's wild.
Yeah, a stark contrast between the technological and the primal.
Yeah.
Almost like a clash between different forces or evolutionary paths.
So, okay, then there's the Black Cube.
Right, the Black Cube.
This is a concept that's been around in New Age circles, but Claudia connects it directly to Metatron.
Yes.
And this whole idea of manipulating humanity.
And this is where things start to feel, well,
Creepy.
a little creepy. So she describes the Black Cube as this black shining object that traps people's energy.
Oh, no.
And forces them into these repetitive, draining cycles.
Like we're on a hamster wheel or something.
Exactly. Stuck in these patterns that ultimately benefit, whoever's in control.
Right.
And she senses it's been hidden for centuries.
Oh, wow.
Only recently reemerging.
Okay, that is kind of unsettling.
It does make you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's behind this reemergence?
Right, right.
Could it be tied to the shifts in human consciousness?
Interesting.
Are we becoming more aware of these forces, making it harder for them to stay hidden?
Claudia seems to think so. She links the cube's reappearance to our growing spiritual awareness.
Yeah.
It's like we're waking up more open to spiritual concepts, but that openness makes us vulnerable to manipulation.
Yeah, that's a key point.
By those who control these powerful tools.
It challenges the assumption that spirituality is always liberating.
Right.
It suggests that even as we seek, enlightenment, spiritual growth, We have to be discerning, question the sources of our information.
Absolutely.
Question the motives of our so-called guides.
It's like this balancing act.
Yes.
Between exploring spirituality and protecting ourselves from manipulation.
Exact.
So how do we navigate that?
Well, that's where discernment comes in,
No.
learning to distinguish between true guidance and subtle manipulation.
Right. And that's something we'll definitely be exploring more as we continue this deep dive.
Definitely.
Because this is just the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
We've only just scratched the surface.
We're just getting started.
So we're really seeing how this matrix idea, this system of control might be at work in our lives.
Yeah.
But Claudia takes it a step further.
Okay.
She gives this really specific example.
Right.
And it might surprise you, it's yoga.
Yoga.
Yeah. Now, before you think she's saying yoga is like bad or evil,
Right.
let me clarify.
Okay.
She uses yoga as kind of a microcosm of this whole broader spiritual landscape, this blend of good and bad, potential for enlightenment, but also potential pitfalls.
Gotcha. So it's not inherently good or bad, but it's like anything. It has two sides.
Exactly. Any spiritual practice, even one as seemingly harmless as yoga,
can be
a double-edged sword.
I get it. It can be a tool for self-discovery, healing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also a way to be manipulated if you're not careful.
Right, if we just blindly follow gurus or teachings.
Yeah, like anything else, you got to be discerning.
Big time. Just because someone calls themselves a spiritual teacher or a guru doesn't mean they've got your best interest in mind.
Absolutely. You got to cultivate that inner knowing.
That inner compass.
Yeah, to feel if something is truly aligned with you.
So how do we know? What are some red flags?
Well, Claudia really emphasizes looking at the long-term effects of a practice or teaching.
So not just how we feel in the moment.
No, it's about the lasting impact.
Does it bring more peace, joy, deeper connection?
Yeah, or does it leave you feeling drained, dependent?
Maybe even a little brainwashed?
Right. If something consistently feels off, even if it seems positive at first,
that's a sign.
It is a big sign to take a closer look.
Our energy is precious.
Oh, it is. It's our life force.
We can't be wasting it on stuff that's draining us.
Exactly. And this is where boundaries come in.
Oh, yeah. Boundaries are huge.
We need healthy boundaries everywhere.
In our relationships, our spiritual practices.
Yeah, even what information we consume.
It's kind of scary, right? This idea of energy as this finite resource.
It can be, especially when you think about these unseen forces.
Yeah.
Maybe manipulating it for their own gain.
But you're right. Awareness is the first step to feeling empowered.
It is. Once you recognize it's happening, you can make conscious choices about where your energy goes.
So going back to Metatron and the Black Cube, Claudia talks about this idea that beings like him were more visible in ancient times.
Interesting.
Because of different energetic conditions.
So like there are these cycles.
Yeah, ebbs and flows of energy that affect how these beings interact with us.
Fascinating.
Like we're not just moving through time in a straight line.
Right.
We're part of this bigger cosmic dance.
I like that, a cosmic dance.
There are these shifts in energy and consciousness.
It's like our reality.
In ways we're only beginning to understand.
And she sees now as a crucial point.
Oh, yeah.
Like a crossroads. The choices we make individually and collectively will shape the path we take.
It's both exciting and a little scary.
It is, right?
This idea that we have a role in shaping the future.
We're not just passive observers.
Okay, now get this. This part gave me chills.
All right.
She talks about the origin of the Black Cube.
Oh, wow.
Being created deep inside the earth.
Okay.
Using specific energies. And remember that low penetrating sound?
Yeah, with Metatron.
She hears it again with the cube.
No way.
It's like this powerful manipulative force at work.
That's chilling.
It raises so many questions.
Yeah, like who created it? Why?
She suggests it was part of the matrix itself.
As part of the matrix.
Maybe involving multiple species.
Really?
And even human DNA.
Whoa, that's mind-blowing.
It's like we're in a sci-fi movie.
Except it might not be fiction.
Right. And if human DNA is involved, what did that say about our role in all of this?
Big question.
Are we just pawns in this cosmic game?
Or do we have the power to change the rules?
Speaking of power, let's talk angels and archangels.
Right.
Claudia makes a distinction between the two.
Okay.
She senses a hierarchy in the angelic realm.
Like a system of control.
Yeah, she feels Archangel Michael is especially powerful now, especially through technology.
Interesting.
And she senses their power fluctuates with humanity's level of awareness.
So our awareness affects them.
Seems that way.
That's empowering.
But if these beings are so powerful, why manipulate us subtly?
Right, why not just take over?
Exactly.
Maybe it's about free will.
Okay.
Maybe they can only influence us if we let them.
Or are there cosmic rules against interfering directly?
It's worth pondering.
So then Claudia gets into how we might be giving them our energy.
Oh, interesting.
Unknowingly, through things like prayer, chanting, rituals.
Okay.
Even the Om chant in yoga
Really?
can act as a catalyst,
Wow.
amplifying both positive and negative energies.
So it's not just good vibes.
Right. It highlights the importance of intention and awareness in our practices.
Yeah, we have to be mindful.
Be careful what you're calling on.
Exactly.
Be careful what you're asking for.
You might not always get what you expect.
Right. And the consequences could be bigger than we realize.
That brings us to her final point.
Okay.
The importance of discernment.
Especially with these so-called light beings.
Right. Don't just trust them blindly.
Even if they seem benevolent.
Yeah. Even if they offer what you desire.
She believes true light beings don't interfere directly.
Interesting.
We have to trust our gut. Observe the long-term effects.
Yeah, see what the real impact is?
It's a lot to take in.
It is, this idea of being discerning, even in faced with pure light.
It's almost counterintuitive.
It is, but it speaks to the power we have within.
To choose to discern.
Yeah, absolutely.
To trust our own guidance. Man, that was a lot, huh?
It really was.
From Metatron to the black cube and like our energy being manipulated, there's so much more to reality than we think, right?
For sure. And remember, this is just one take on all this.
Right, one person's experience.
Each of us has to figure out what resonates, how it fits into our own understanding.
Absolutely. But the big question I think we're all left with is, what do we do with all this information?
Right, how do we apply it to our lives?
Exactly.
That's the key, isn't it?
So where do we even begin?
Well, first, just acknowledge that this could be happening.
Okay.
That our energy can be messed with, that these unseen forces might be real.
Yeah.
That awareness is how we start to take back our power.
But how do we go from feeling vulnerable to feeling empowered?
Well, Claudia had some good advice there.
Okay. Yeah.
It's all about discernment.
Right, being able to tell what's good for us and what's not.
Even when it's disguised as something positive.
So not being paranoid?
No, not at all.
But being more skeptical.
Exactly.
Learning to question things, trust our intuition.
Yeah, and make conscious choices.
About what we let into our lives.
Exactly.
So like with those spiritual practices we talked about, if we're drawn to one, we should look at it closely.
Yeah, ask yourself some questions.
Like, what are the beliefs? Who are the teachers? What are their motives?
Does it feel right to you?
Almost like we have to be spiritual detectives.
I like that, spiritual detectives.
We got to investigate, gather information, trust our gut.
We can't be passive followers.
Right, we have to be active in our own growth.
And that means walking away from anything that doesn't feel right.
Even if it's popular or endorsed by someone we think is cool?
Especially then.
Claudia also talked about paying attention to long-term effects.
Yeah, how does something affect you over time?
So how did that apply to protecting our energy?
Well, it's about noticing how you feel after doing something. After a practice, after spending time with someone, after reading something.
Does it give you energy or drain you?
Exactly. Our energy is precious. We got to be careful where we spend it.
It's like an energy budget.
I love that, an energy budget.
We got to track our spending, make sure we're not wasting it on stuff that doesn't matter.
And like any budget, sometimes you got to make tough choices.
Yeah, like saying no to things, relationships, even beliefs.
Even if they've been part of your life for a long time.
And that all ties back to boundaries.
Boundaries are crucial.
In our relationships, our practices, even what information we consume.
It's about saying yes to what fills you up.
And no to what drains you.
No matter what it is.
Man, this has been an eye-opening deep dive.
It really has.
We went from the nature of reality to these really practical ways to empower ourselves.
Just remember, this is one perspective on a huge topic.
Right, but the main takeaway is that we are not powerless.
We have choices.
We have intuition.
And we have the power to create a reality that works for us.
It's like a reminder that our journey of self-discovery never ends.
It's always evolving.
There's always more to learn, more to explore.
About ourselves, about the universe.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
It's been a pleasure exploring all this with you.
We hope it sparked your curiosity.
Yeah, get you thinking.
And giving you the tools to navigate this complex world.
With awareness.
And a strong connection to your own inner wisdom.
Until next time.